There are three things I'm looking at. One is a dye, a gel stain, and either one of those finished with a polyacrylic. In addition to the stain and the dye, I'm also just want to get a comparison of looking at a paint. With the paint, I'm not quite sure that's going to come out good, but you know, it's the comparison I'm doing, so I might as well do everything and at least give myself a chance to make up my mind for sure, as well as give you the opportunity to get a little bit of input as far as the way you may want to go as far as resurfacing your cabinets. For the gel stain, I've already found out through experiments that for the dye stain that a pre-coat is not too desirable. I don't get enough depth in color, so I'm going to just go with a straight dye, no pre-coat on that. So for the gel stain, I'm going to consider one application with a pre-stain and one without, again, as a comparison. The basic things I want to be looking at are 4 categories: red oak, poplar, and maple, and these are all solid woods, no veneers. So the poplar, we're looking at a pre-coat eggshell paint, and finally dye. Quite naturally, this is going to raise the grain on everything, even on the stains and gels. After we do that, we're going to do a quick sanding with 320 or 220 grit sandpaper. For the gel, we're going to let soak for about 60 seconds, and then we're going to wipe it off. I can already tell that the gel dye is being absorbed better with the poplar than it is with the maple. Even with the maple, I'm getting a lot of blotches with the maple, whereas with the poplar, it looks a little bit consistent as far as color. Now we're going to try the dye. Just doing this, I'm just curious of what it would look like. This looks truly like a paint. I'm just curious what it would look like if we did a whitewash of this. Let it dry for a second, and maybe I'm trying to think, I'll turn it over and do a whitewash and see what it looks like. Well, all these are going to look the same because it's basically, as a paint, it's going to cover the species of wood, and you're not going to know whether it's maple, oak, or whatever. The whitewashing of the paint fairly close to, what is this? This is the cinnamon dye. I'm not sure if I like the paint. Paint is, well, after we put the polyacrylic on there, maybe we'll tell the difference, but we'll try both sides, the wiped off paint as well as the solid paint, instead of the ends that are dried better. Just to knock down those grains that raised through the process. We finished off everything by hitting all the surfaces with a 320 grit sandpaper, and then applied 2 coats of the polyacrylic as a protective coat. We used in this group here our maple, poplar, and oak. We used first a pre-coat stain on the top row here, followed by just the gel stain in this row here on the oak, poplar, and maple. And then we came back in and used a dye stain of cinnamon color for the oak, poplar, and maple. And then finally we used a paint for the oak, poplar, and maple. Now at the last minute we did two sides. First side we did just paint. And I'm going to give you a close-up of this. First we did just the paint in the oak, in the poplar, and in the maple. But then we said, well, let's try it if we do a whitewash technique, which means you apply the paint and then you turn around and wipe off the excess paint back to the bare wood. And I like the results that came out of this. Here again is the oak. You can still see the grain in there. For the poplar, you can see some of the pattern in there. And for the maple, that came out pretty good too. Again, you can always see blotching, especially with maple, but that's understood. But then we looked at the journal finish dye stain for the oak, which came out excellent. I was very surprised how well that came out. The only thing is, if you like the graininess in it, that's what you're going to end up with oak. But it still looks nice. With the poplar, it was a little bit of darker tone to it. But again, it was consistent. It looks more consistent than some of the ones I'm going to show you in a few minutes. And here, the maple, it came out pretty well. You can see some of the blotchiness in here, but that's understood with maple. Our main purpose of this test was trying to achieve a color close to this, and we can say this is our basis. Again, this is the journal finish cinnamon dye stain that was used on here, and we just wanted to find out if this worked well, or if we should have went through a paint or through another brand, a gel, and also a pre-stain. So this is the basis of our test here. We also looked at this gel stain in both a pre-stain as well as just a single stain without a pre-stain. And you know, the oak always looks nice. The oak came out real well. Looking at the poplar, I think it came out, it's a little bit darker. It's not the same as the redness that you were getting with the journal finish cinnamon, or well as the whitewash painting technique. But I guess the thing I was really disappointed in was the maple. Maple was extremely blotchy, as well as, and that was in the pre-stain application. In the just the stain only, I got more blotching, as you can see. All this is blotching. I can even see the salt patterns in here, which I'm not sure if it's that good or not. But again, going back to, and I'm somewhat surprised here, using maple, which is a hard wood, difficult to stain anyway and be consistent. I got a little bit better depth in the color. I didn't want it darker, because if I wanted darker, I can put 2 coats on there, and I didn't want that. And this is an earlier test where I actually put 2 coats on here. But again, I didn't want my cabinets to be that dark. I wanted it again to approach this or be better than this pattern here. So I think that's my conclusion. I'll let you be the judge of which one you think came out best. But again, I guess the ones that I liked the most is the dye stain in the cinnamon color, which is a reddish brown tone. I liked it in the maple as well as in the poplar. Again, you know, this is something to consider, since this is going to be almost half less expensive than the maple, and the same thing for the oak. With oak, you can't go wrong. You just that if you like these wood patterns in your oak or your finish, that's the only thing you have to deal with. But the whitewash came out fairly well. You know, again, this was just the paint applied, and here I applied the paint and then I wiped it off, but you can still see the grain through here, but it's not as deep as it is with the dye. So yeah. Then the maple and this whitewash came out fairly well too, and that's the painted version there. One thing with the paint, you have to wipe it on, you have to apply the paint, wait a few seconds, and wipe it off. That's an extra step. Whereas I get the same results with the dye by just applying it and wiping it off and putting my finished acrylic coat on there, and that's it. So again, I used the Varathane gel stain in a pre-stain as well as a stain directly. I used a journal finish dye stain, and I used a paint, and I think the results are pretty well good result. I think we have good results, and it's just really a matter of taste, which one you prefer. But again, I think I'm gonna stick with maybe my cinnamon in either the maple or in the poplar. That poplar looks real nice. If you look at some of the cabinets, self-made, pre-made cabinets at the big box stores, you know, and you're doing this yourself, you know, this is not professional. This might If you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button. But we would appreciate a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video,